Hi, this is Zurika Nabi. I'm one of the students completing the PG DIP in Futures, and this is my video for my Applied Systems Thinking assignment. The purpose of this video is to visually illustrate how I used causal loop diagrams as an applied systems thinking tool in the understanding and diagnosis of my problem. The problem in the paper is positioned as education, which is being challenged against the backdrop of artificial intelligence and technological advances, which are impacting the current workforce and future work and types of jobs people will need to do. I've chosen to use the causal loop diagram methodology as I find that it's the most comprehensive and easy to use tool in understanding my problem and being able to thoroughly assess the type of impacts the situation is causing. The causal loop diagram looks at cause of a problem in relation to effect, unlike most conventional problem solving thinking tools do. The causal loop diagram doesn't look at a problem linear. Let me explain. So if you have a problem, and let's say the problem is I have insufficient income monthly, the linear way would be I will take action. So for example, I will spend less by using my credit card, and in using my credit card the problem is solved and I have more cash at the end of the month. What the causal loop diagram helps you look at is if you looked at the same problem in a circular manner, you would see that yes, you can start off with insufficient money monthly. You can take action by using a credit card, and you might have the result of more money. However, this change ultimately results in having less money because you now have to pay the credit card. So we actually either repeat the problem or we get a new problem. In this example, we have repeated the problem of resulting in less cash. The new problem is that we now have credit card debt. So, in essence, what the causal loop diagram forces us to say is how do we now solve more permanently the problem we have. I'm now going to talk through how my topic was used in conjunction to the causal loop diagram. How I've termed it is I've termed that the problem we are facing is unskilled future labor. In the case of having that problem, I have proposed, and it's not limited to these two actions, but for the purposes of illustration, I've proposed that we could look to solve this problem in two ways. One of the ways being the revision of the educational system and structure, and thereby looking at its content. The second way is the inclusion of education content related to STEM, which is subjects around science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, into corporate learning curriculum, and actually holding corporates accountable for the introduction of skills and knowledge that will result in a skilled labor which will be able to cope with the transition of jobs in the future. On a very simplistic level, this might be a solution to our problem of the unskilled future labor. However, if you use causal loop, or when you use causal loop diagrams, you'll find that, for example, we have two types of feedback loops. The one is where we reinforce the problem due to feedback from the solution we have proposed, and let me illustrate that example. If we had to look at the revision of educational structure and the content in basic and higher education, And specifically with reference, if we're looking at artificial intelligence and technology, where STEM is relevant, we might say that to change those elements of educational structure, we need government, and in terms of government, we might need policy change and funding. However, what might happen is that policy changes might take a long time, might need research and more statistical data and more stakeholders. In terms of funding, there'll be the constraint of funding an existing model while you trial and fund a new model. And therefore, what we start to do is either we reinforce the problem of the revision and remain in a situation where we have unskilled labor, or what will happen is we will still be working towards solving the problem, but in a delayed manner. On the other side, I'd like to use what we call the balancing feedback loop. So by introducing STEM-based learning into corporates who get access to artificial intelligence into their business through, for example, software companies or technology companies that they partner with, the recommendation I'm making is that those corporates start to talk to their software suppliers about offering STEM education as part of their sales and product offering. And why I've said this is a balancing loop is twofold. One is the relationship with the supplier, the software supplier, becomes something more sustainable. It takes on an element of innovation, and they can partner together for both businesses to benefit. The second part is for software suppliers. It creates, in terms of their landscape, a new opportunity that they can use to offer other corporates a service and offering. This is a very brief overview of how I've used causal loop diagrams in my assignment.